Have you ever wondered why she suddenly stopped looking at you the same way? Why her voice got colder, her body got distant, and the warmth you once felt vanished like it never existed? You didn't change, at least, not in the way you think. You still texted her good morning. You still asked how her day was. You still remembered her favorite drink, planned thoughtful surprises, and made time when she barely asked. But that's exactly where it began, not your failure to try, but your failure to stop trying when you were no longer being met halfway. It happens to men all the time. You start strong. She seems sweet, engaged, attentive. She laughs at your jokes, touches your arm, sends those long messages. You think this is different, but then, slowly, something shifts. Her replies get shorter. The hey babe turns to yo. The kisses become quick. The compliments disappear. And in your gut, you feel it. She's not inspired by you anymore. She's not afraid to lose you. Most men react the same way. They double down. They try harder. They plan something romantic, thinking maybe she just needs reminding. They bring flowers, offer more of their time, more of their energy. They ask, "Are you okay? Is something wrong? Did I do something?" And with every question, every gesture, every attempt to pull her back, she loses more respect. Not because you're weak, but because you're giving more than what's being reciprocated. You see, when a woman begins to lose respect for you, the game has already changed. You're no longer the prize. You've become the one chasing validation. And once she senses that shift, once she sees you needing her more than she needs you, it triggers something deep and ancient in the female psychology. Disdain, not hatred, not cruelty, just a quiet, growing lack of admiration. She may not even be doing it on purpose, but suddenly she's busy, she's tired, she forgot to text. You feel like a guest in what used to be your own story. And instead of leaving, you shrink yourself. You become nicer, softer, more agreeable, thinking that if you show her how much you care, she'll return to who she was. But here's the part no one tells you once she loses respect. Love becomes conditional. Conditional on your performance. Conditional on your compliance. Conditional on how well you manage her moods, her whims, her shifting interest. And the moment you stop pleasing, she pulls back, withholding affection, enthusiasm, interest. Not necessarily to punish you, but to measure your reaction. This is the trap. You mistake her emotional distance for a problem to fix, instead of a signal to reevaluate your own boundaries. You think love should be earned when, in reality, you've already earned it. The moment you feel the ground shifting beneath your feet, that's when you stop giving. That's when you observe. That's when you pull your energy back. Let me make it clearer. When a woman begins to withdraw emotionally, physically, verbally, don't chase. Don't text twice. Don't ask what's wrong. Don't try to cheer her up, because she's not testing your love. She's testing your self-respect. She wants to see, will you break yourself to make her comfortable? You don't strike back with cruelty. You strike back with presence, stillness, distance. You let her feel your absence like a cold wind under the door. You go quiet. You stop explaining yourself. You stop rewarding bad behavior. No reaction is the strongest reaction. And yes, it will feel like punishment to you, because you've been trained to believe that love is maintenance, that love is giving more when it's not working. But that's not strength. That's desperation disguised as kindness. You think you're proving your worth, but all she sees is your inability to walk away. Women don't respect a man who's too afraid to lose her. They respect a man who's willing to be alone rather than disrespected, who doesn't argue, doesn't plead, doesn't justify, just disappears when the energy turns manipulative, because that silence, that stillness, it's not emptiness, it's clarity. It says, I saw what you did, I felt what you withdrew, and I will not entertain a story where I'm no longer honored. The moment you stop chasing, you regain power. The moment you withdraw your attention, she sees herself. The mirror flips. The silence speaks. And she has a choice: match your energy or watch you walk. You don't teach her with lectures. You teach her with distance. Have you ever done this and didn't realize it pushed her away? Tell me what happened. What's the hardest thing you faced when trying to keep a woman interested? Drop your story below. Which mistake do you see yourself making the most? Be honest in the comments. You have to understand something brutally clear the moment you feel the shift, and you ignore it. That's the beginning of your downfall. It always starts small. A delayed response, a cancelled plan, a joke that suddenly lands flat. You brush it off. You tell yourself she's tired or stressed, or it's just a bad week. But your gut is louder than your hope. You know something's different. You just don't want to believe it. And because you don't want to believe it, you betray yourself to keep her interested. You lower your standards, thinking it'll raise her attraction. You tolerate things you never would have at the beginning: eye rolls, one-word answers, her phone lighting up constantly during dinner while you sit there pretending not to notice. You trade your pride for her presence. And the worst part, you think you're being strong. Let's break this down. When a woman starts withdrawing affection, she's not always conscious of it. Sometimes it's emotional fatigue. Sometimes it's entitlement. And sometimes it's because she's already found a new source of excitement, even if it's just in her imagination. But your response is everything, because how you react teaches her how much she can devalue you before you push back. If she disrespects your time, shows up late, cancels last minute, shows indifference, and you still show up with the same energy, she learns one thing: you don't have boundaries. She may not say it. She may even say she appreciates your patience. But deep down, she's losing respect by the minute. Because no woman values what comes too easily, especially when she's misbehaving. Now here's where the psychological trap deepens. You start believing that her coldness is your fault. That maybe you're not being romantic enough, or communicative enough, or understanding enough. So you adapt. You adjust. You offer more. You chase a version of her that no longer exists. And every time you do, she pulls further away. You see, the more you adjust to her distance, the more she sees you as emotionally subordinate. It's not about dominance. It's about polarity. Women are drawn to men they can respect. Men who don't fold under silence. Men who don't beg for closure. Men who can sit in the discomfort of not being chosen and still carry themselves like kings. So what do you do when she starts pulling away? You pause. You stop initiating. You let the silence settle, and you watch. If she's still invested, she'll notice. She'll reach out. She'll recalibrate. But if she's done, if she was already halfway out the door, your silence will reveal the truth without you needing to ask. And I'll tell you this, it's better to be alone in clarity than together in delusion. Men who regain power don't win arguments. They master their response. Instead of exploding, they observe. Instead of texting long paragraphs, they go cold. Not to manipulate, but to mirror. You reflect back what you're receiving. You remove the reward from disrespect. There was a guy I knew, let's call him Marcus. Smart, fit, driven. Met a girl who adored him at first. Couldn't stop texting. Always available. But after 6 months, it changed. She got colder. She started snapping at him for small things, criticizing his job, his friends. He tried to fix it, took her on a weekend trip, bought her gifts, wrote her a letter. Do you know what she did? She read the letter and said, "This feels a little desperate. Not cruel, not hateful, just blunt indifference." And that word desperate shattered him, because he realized something: he had become the emotional beggar. And no matter how expensive the gift or heartfelt the letter, nothing could make her respect him again while he was still acting like a man trying to earn her love. So Marcus went silent. No fights, no drama, no goodbye letter. He stopped reaching out. He stopped reacting. He reclaimed his time, went to the gym, reconnected with his circle, focused on his work. Within a week, she texted, "Are we okay?" Another week, she called, "I miss how things were." But he didn't answer. Not to punish, but because he had remembered who he was before her validation became his currency. That's how you strike back. Not with anger, not with revenge, with distance, with self-repair, with an unshakable commitment to never beg to be seen again. And if she comes back, fine, but you're not the same. You don't let her walk back into the castle she burned without building the bridge herself. You don't lower your standard just because she remembers your value too late. You watch how she shows up, not what she says. Have you ever stayed too long after the respect was gone? What made you realize it? When did you first notice she was no longer afraid to lose you? How did you react? What part of yourself did you abandon to keep her happy? Be real in the comments. There's a moment every man feels it when you look at her and realize she's not even trying anymore. Not to impress, not to charm, not to meet you halfway. And what hurts the most isn't the distance, it's the memory of who she used to be. That sweet, playful girl who texted you just to say she missed you, the one who used to light up when you walked in the room. That version of her is gone, and you keep looking for her in the ghost of a woman who's already checked out. You think it's a rough patch. You think maybe you've grown apart. You tell yourself that relationships go through phases, and that's true. But there's a difference between a phase and a pattern, because a pattern is repeated. And when the same disrespect, the same coldness, the same emotional neglect shows up over and over again, you're no longer in a relationship. You're in a submission. Let's talk tactics. If she's using silence, sarcasm, or emotional distance to control you, it's not an accident. Whether she's aware of it or not, she's establishing dominance. Every time she withholds affection and you respond with more effort, you've reinforced the behavior. You're teaching her, the worse you treat me, the more I'll try to prove myself. And she might not even see herself as manipulative. In her mind, she's just not feeling it right now, or not in the mood. But her mood has become the ruler of your self-worth. You've started adjusting your behavior not based on who you are, but on what will keep her from withdrawing further. That's not love, that's conditioning. Think about it. You walk into the room, she doesn't even look up, doesn't say hi, her arms are folded. You ask what's wrong. She says nothing, so you try to make her laugh. You offer to cook, you play soft, you get quiet. You try to match her energy, and then maybe she softens, and you breathe out, thinking you've fixed it. But you didn't fix anything. You submitted. You let her bad mood dictate your value, and now she knows she can withdraw affection to gain control. Want to break that cycle? The next time she goes cold, don't chase, don't ask, don't explain. Match her energy, but not with spite, with calm. You walk into the room, she's icy. You smile, kiss her on the forehead, and go about your business. You stay present, not performative. You don't punish, but you don't bend either. And if she asks what's wrong, you tell her gently, "I'm good. Just not going to force what's not being reciprocated." That sentence, that's power. Quiet, calm, grounded power. It says, I see you, I feel the shift, but I won't grovel for warmth I didn't dim. And here's what happens next. She'll either reflect or react. If there's still love in her heart, she'll notice the change. She'll realize you're no longer dancing for her approval. She might reach out, apologize, reconnect. But if she reacts with more distance, more games, more deflection, that's your answer. She doesn't want a partner. She wants a puppet. You can't outlove someone's disdain. You can't outpatience someone's disrespect. You can't heal in a house where your wounds are ammunition. It's not your job to convince her to see your worth. It's your job to live in a way that never hides it. Let's get even more tactical. If you're in a pattern of always initiating stop, not forever, but for now, wait. See how long it takes for her to notice your silence. 2 days, 3, a week. Watch what happens when you stop being the emotional engine of the relationship. Does she reach out, or does she enjoy the quiet? That test alone will tell you more about her investment than 100 conversations. If she posts on social media about her amazing night, but hasn't responded to your message in 24 hours, stop giving her the privilege of your emotional availability. She's not confused. She's choosing. And you should too. Start saying no more often. If she flakes, don't reschedule. If she disrespects your time, don't explain, just stop offering it. If she jokes at your expense in public, don't smile through it. Meet her eyes. Say nothing. Let the silence speak for you. Remember, detachment is not cruelty. It's clarity. You're not punishing her. You're protecting your center. You're not withholding love. You're refusing to leak it where it isn't honored. You're not walking away to prove a point. You're walking back to yourself. Have you ever noticed her using emotional distance as leverage? What did you do? When was the last time you pulled your energy back? How did she react? Have you ever kept initiating just to avoid feeling unwanted? Tell the truth in the comments. The hardest pill to swallow is this. She doesn't love who you've become. She loved who you were when you weren't afraid to lose her. In the beginning, you were effortless. You had your rhythm, your space, your standards. You weren't performing. You were simply being. And she admired that. She saw a man who didn't need her approval to breathe. A man who had a life before her and would have one after her. That's what drew her in. That's what made her lean forward. But slowly, you started compromising. Not out of weakness, but out of care. You gave up your routines to make more time for her. You stopped doing certain things because she said she didn't like them. You agreed when you should have pushed back. You bit your tongue. You apologized when you weren't wrong. And before you knew it, the man she was drawn to disappeared under the man you thought she wanted. That's the cruel irony. You became more accommodating and she became less attracted. Because she didn't want a mirror of her emotions. She wanted a pillar. She didn't want control. She wanted to trust that she couldn't control you. That's where the respect lives. When she sees that your mood is stable, even when she's testing you, that's power. When she knows you don't need her to feel okay, that's power. When she realizes that your silence isn't fear, it's discipline, that's when she starts to question herself. Not you. Here's something most men don't realize. Women don't just want safety. They want tension, not chaos, not abuse, but tension, the emotional polarity that keeps things alive. And tension dies the moment you become predictable, the moment she knows every reaction, every word, every routine. The game is over. Predictability kills polarity. You want to strike back, don't just go cold, go mysterious. Let her wonder why you're not texting first. Let her question where your mind is. Let her realize that your world doesn't orbit hers anymore. And no, this isn't to win her back. This is to return to yourself. Start doing the things that made you magnetic before she came into the picture. Not to impress her, but to feel yourself again. Train like you used to. Wake up early. Hang out with your boys. Take risks. Get lost in your work. Not as a performance, but as a restoration. The more you step back into your center, the more she feels the difference. She'll sense it before she even sees it. Your tone will change. Your energy will shift. You won't be colder, you'll be unavailable in a way that doesn't beg to be noticed. And here's the truth, sometimes she'll come running back, and sometimes she won't. But both are gifts, because if she comes back with respect, with effort, with humility, you've reset the dynamic. And if she doesn't, then you've been spared a lifetime of slow, emotional erosion, a life where you're constantly guessing, adjusting, proving, because no man should live on a leash, waiting for scraps of affection. You're not her emotional assistant. You're not her second therapist. You're not her sponge for bad moods. You're a man with options, with value, with backbone. If she can't see it, that's her blindness, not your burden. And listen closely, respect doesn't come from grand gestures. It comes from consistent boundaries. She doesn't need another romantic weekend. She needs to know you'll walk if she mocks you in front of her friends. She doesn't need more flowers. She needs to feel your energy shift when she crosses a line. She doesn't need more validation. She needs the silence of a man who no longer tolerates being treated like an option. When she realizes that she doesn't control the temperature of the relationship anymore, when she realizes you're no longer dancing for her approval, that's when the mirror cracks. That's when the games stop. Because the only thing more terrifying to a manipulative woman than being left is being ignored by a man who finally sees her clearly. Have you ever sacrificed who you are just to keep her smiling? When did you stop doing the things that made you powerful before she entered your life? What would happen if you disappeared for a week, not to hurt her, but to remember who you were? There comes a day when you stop checking your phone. Not out of anger, not out of a desire to punish, but because something in you finally clicks. You don't need her to see you anymore. You see yourself, and that changes everything. You no longer wait for her tone to soften before you can breathe easy. You no longer walk on eggshells wondering if today will be a good day. You no longer seek affection as proof that you're worthy. That's what emotional freedom feels like. Not rage, not revenge, just silence and peace. You wake up, and her name isn't the first thought. You look in the mirror, and you see a man again, not a shell of who you used to be. You start talking slower, walking straighter, thinking clearer. You're not scanning every text for subtext. You're not negotiating your self-worth anymore. Because the truth is, the moment you stop needing her to respect you is when you finally start living with respect. See, most men spend months, even years, trying to win her back. They read the books, watch the videos, take the blame, overanalyze the past. And in doing so, they stay chained to a woman who already made up her mind. They live in the memory of her sweetness, trying to resurrect a version of her that no longer exists. But she doesn't miss the old you. She misses the version of herself that she felt when she was with a man who didn't need her. That man is still in you. He's just buried under months of overgiving, over-apologizing, over-investing. You want to know how to strike back. You stop explaining. You stop auditioning. You stop waiting for her to notice your effort, and instead, you disappear into your potential. That's the real revenge evolution. Not for her, for you. Because the men who rise from heartbreak don't do it by begging or proving or pleasing. They do it by withdrawing their energy from everything that insulted their value and redirecting it toward the version of themselves that never needed approval in the first place. And if she texts you after all that, if she says she's been thinking about you, or that she misses how things used to be, you don't answer right away, not to play games, but because you're not the same man anymore. You read her words, and you feel nothing but clarity. Because the truth is, she didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect. And now, you protect it. With silence, with standards, with space so large that only the truly deserving can walk across it. You're not cold, you're clear. You're not cruel, you're calculated. You're not passive, you're powerful. And from now on, No woman will ever sit at your table and make you beg to be fed with crumbs of respect. You've learned the lesson. You've walked through the fire. And what's left is something no one can take: presence, peace, and the kind of masculine gravity that doesn't chase it, attracts. She doesn't haunt you anymore. She humbled you, and in doing so, she handed you back to yourself. So ask yourself, now that you see it all clearly, what parts of your identity were never yours to give away? What would your life look like if you stopped trying to earn love and started demanding respect? What would change today if you acted like a man who knows exactly what he's worth? Let me know in the comments. I read every one of them. She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.